Hey guys, good morning. It is 5:45 a.m. and gosh, I kind of look like a hot mess. Sorry about that, but it's 5:45 a.m. So you're just gonna have to bear with me and maybe turn the screen away and just listen. Um, Guys, I was reading this morning in Genesis chapter 32. I just actually finished my last Bible reading plan and rolled over. So pretty excited about that to be getting started again in Genesis, where God is such a big God, and I have totally marked up right here this part of Genesis chapter 32 that I wanted to read. And so this is when Jacob is coming back to coming back home from having been gone for 20 years after he tricked his father and his brother and stole his brother's birthright and did all this just sneaky deceptive stuff, and just really kind of burned some bridges. So he's coming back home and he's worried that his brother is going to not treat him nice. And he's praying to God. And Jacob says, and I'm just going to read here, this is in verse 9, Genesis 32:9. Then Jacob prayed, O God of my grandfather Abraham and God of my father Isaac, O Lord, you told me, return to your own land and to your relatives, and you promised to treat me kindly. I'm not worthy of all the unfailing love and kindness that you've shown me, your servant. When I left home, I crossed the Jordan River. I owned nothing except a walking stick. Now my household fills two large camps. O Lord, please rescue me from the hand of my brother Esau. I'm afraid that he is coming to attack me along with my wives and children. But you promised me, I will surely treat you kindly, and I will multiply your descendants until they become as numerous as the sands of the seashore, too many to count. Okay, so let's just break this apart because I feel like, at least for me, this is like a really important prayer that I need to be praying. Um, so the first, when he prays, he starts with who God is and how big God is. So this isn't just, like somebody who is like a peer, or even maybe someone who's a little above me, like my boss, way above me, like the president, or the prime minister or whoever. But this is God. This is like, you are God. You're the God of my of Abraham, my grandfather. You're the same God that my father served, right? You are the creator of heaven. So, and this is the first step after I read in the morning. This is the first thing I do is I actually write down when a passage like, who does it say God is? Who does this passage say God is? Because it centers me on this story, like this story right here. But not just this story, but this story. My life is not like, the main character of this story is not me. The main character of this story is not me. The main character of the story is God, right? This is God's story. And I get to play a part in that, and that's awesome. Okay, but it's not my story. And so I write about, who does this say God is? Because it helps me to kind of have a strong foundation. And so if I was reading this passage, and I am today, one of the things I know I'm going to write is, all right, you're the God of Abraham, you're the God of Isaac. You are the God who makes us promises. Okay, you are the God who leads us, right? Um, Things like that. If I was reading Genesis 1, I'd write, you are the creator of heaven and earth. Okay, so I write some of those things down. Whatever I pick through scripture as I'm reading, and I'll write those things down. That's kind of the start, and I love that Jacob starts with that in his prayer. Like, you're the God of Abraham and Isaac. So that's his foundation. And then he talks about um, how he's unworthy, right? He's like, so he's acknowledging God's goodness, and he says, hey God, I when I left here 20 years ago, I didn't have anything. I owned a walking stick, and now I'm a rich man and I have a big family, right? You have blessed me so much, and I don't deserve more. I don't deserve what you've already given me, right? That is an important place of humility, not self-deprecation, not like insecurity, but just an acknowledgement of what all that God's done for me, and how I can't earn or deserve. I'm not saying like, wow, God, look at all this stuff I've done for you. And Jacob didn't say that, and we should acknowledge, like, God, I was a bad man for so many years, and I treated um, so many people dishonestly, or just really selfishly. Okay, I mean, I looked at pornography for 20 years. A good chunk of that time I was married, right? Like this is who I am, and yet who have you, God? You've helped me to become. I feel like a good father and a good husband. Okay, I got a lot of growing to do, but like I used to be a bad husband, you know, and I used to be a selfish father and a selfish husband and a selfish friend. And I feel like you've changed me, right? You've done something, and so um, that's not me. That's you, right? I don't deserve any of this stuff. And so just acknowledging that. So I had a walking stick and now I've got a big family and lots of possessions. You've blessed me so much. I'm not worthy, right? That acknowledgement, that humility. So one, you're God. Two, I'm not worthy, right? Three, I'm afraid, right? He says, um, "Please rescue me from the hand of my brother Esau. I am afraid that he's coming to attack me along with my wives and children." So he's like, he acknowledges his fear. And guys, so much of the things that we mess up on is really rooted in fear. Yesterday, I had a really difficult conversation with one of my daughters, and I don't feel like I handled it as well as I could have. And one of the reasons was because I was afraid that she didn't respect me. And I was afraid that she wouldn't ever respect me. When I say some of these things out loud, it sounds ridiculous. And so I think sometimes just acknowledging our fears out loud, we're like, oh, really? I think that? Like, that's stupid. Of course I know my daughter's gonna respect me. She's a great girl. Like, why wouldn't she? You know? Um, but it caused me to maybe have a conversation that wasn't as productive and that went on longer than it needed to, when I could have just paid attention to the fact to wait, how is she feeling? Not what am I afraid of, but what is she really feeling underneath what she's saying? Um, so so acknowledging our fears. For me right now in my life, we're looking at making some big decisions. It seems like we're always making big decisions. I'm afraid of making um, a wrong decision. I'm afraid of just doing the wrong thing. But not only that, like because of my past and who I am, and the fact that I feel like underneath all of this, like the real Tony, I know this isn't true. It's not real, but I'm going to say it. The real Tony is just a bad person, and so I'm always, kind of like under the surface, always a little bit afraid of what if there's some huge moral failure in my future? What if I do something really boneheaded and disgrace my family and my church, my ministry? Like what if this, I know when we say our fears out loud, they kind of sound a little bit stupid, but nonetheless, I have that fear, so just acknowledging it out loud. God, I'm afraid of failing, either just making a bad decision or making a really boneheaded, stupid, sinful decision, you know. So acknowledging those fears out loud. One, you're God. Who is God? Who are you? You're big, big, big. Two, I'm humble. I have no reason. I don't deserve any of this. And three, I'm afraid. God, I'm afraid. This is what I'm afraid of. And four, you promised, right? He goes on to say, but you promised me I will surely treat you kindly and multiply your descendants, right? You promised. And that promise is not based on what I've done. I'm not saying, God, I have served you and I've been working at church and going to these ministries, and you promised that you would treat me nicely because of all this stuff I've done. No, not for 1 second. That's why that second thing is so important. I'm not worthy of any of this stuff, right? But what that you promised is built on not what I've done, but on who God is. You're the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac. You're the creator of the universe. You're the God that raised Jesus Christ from the dead. You're the God that said, I'm the way, the truth, and the light, right? You are the God who said that nothing can separate you from my love, right? You are the God that said that I'll work all things together for your good, and then I'll conform you to the image of Jesus Christ. You are that God, right? You promised those things, not because of who I am, because of who you are and what your goal is in this life. And so I can cling to that. So for me, I want to share with you guys the the biggest or the four most important promises that God has made to me in my life. One, I will never leave you nor forsake you, right? He'll never ever leave me alone. Okay, and I've never felt alone when the scaredest I've ever been was the day that I got shot. In that moment, God did not leave me. I felt Him so close to me, and there's never, ever, ever been a time, no matter what I was doing, no matter how bad I was being, that I felt like God had turned his back on me. He'll never leave me, and he'll never forsake me, and he'll never leave you or forsake you. Two, I will be your strength. Guys, I don't know how many times I've come walking up these steps, right, at like 11:30 at night after getting all the kids to bed, and I've just been bone tired. And yet God has been my strength to get me through the next day, right? He doesn't give me more strength than I need. He gives me just what I need, but he's always been my strength, and he's always helped me. I will lead you in my paths, right? This is probably, maybe right now for me, the biggest one, because I'm worried about making bad decisions, you know? He's like, I'm going to lead you. Even though you're boneheaded, Tony, I'm going to lead you, okay? And I cling to that, okay? And and I will be your God. That is maybe that's the most important one. When I think about the really truly the way I used to be, and how I, for so many years of my life, I was selfish and self-centered, and really it was self-worship. You know, all the things that I did were about me. Um, and but God said, no, I'm going to be your God, Tony. You're not going to be your God anymore. You have a bigger God. You've got me. Um, and so that is for me a great, like, I know that now and forevermore I worship God, and so I can kind of, I know that doesn't mean that I'll never make a bad decision again, but it gives me a little peace about that really huge boneheaded decision that I'm afraid of off in the future, that maybe it won't ever be there because he's my God. And I'm not going to make that decision, because that would be a decision that was about serving myself. And so um, so anyway, those are four promises that God made me years ago. He made They're all in the Bible, right? So He made them to you too, and there's so many more that you can cling to. So I wonder, like, I encourage you guys to take a minute and just jot those down. Don't like or comment this video. I don't need the affirmation. I'm not saying that other people who say that do. I don't want it. It's not good for me. I'm a prideful person, so don't like this. Don't comment. Don't subscribe. But just, take a minute to think about the things that God has promised you, and who He is, and how unworthy you are, and let Him know what you're afraid of, and just lean on those promises. So you guys have a great day. Love y'all, and keep reading your Bibles.